We're going to talk real quick about the actual deliverables so you know what to look forward to. That's really important at this stage because you're trying to save time. So you don't have time to model everything. You need to think about when and where am I going to model in order to represent my building without having to literally design everything all the way down to all the nuts and bolts, right? So anyway, remember there are going to be 3 renders that I'm asking of you, and it's up to you to decide whether or not you do an exterior environment and try to model it that way. But remember, if you do an exterior environment, you need context. So you need to put it in like a cityscape or something like that. So you need to do your exterior render, which can be an exterior environment, but it can also be in the studio environment. Remember, you can put it at the smaller scale, put it in a studio, photograph it like it's one of your models, and take your render that way. That's a distinct possibility as well. Okay. On a similar note, let's see. Yeah. On a similar note, you have the axonometric section. The axonometric section can be done either full scale in the cityscape if you want, like I showed you with the high-rise tower the other day, or it can be done in a studio scale model, which might be appropriate for some of your projects. So that is just like I mentioned, you're going to have to show the line work over top of it. The cut needs to be filled in. So you're going to need to take your render into Illustrator in order to do that. The third one is going to be the Axonometric Assembly, just like I showed you. I think it was on, what's today, Tuesday? It was on Thursday of last week. So all that's going to need to be is one part of your building and how it goes together. And it could be the handrail on your stairs. It can be how your structural elements, your beams are being supported by your columns. It can be like a screening element like I modeled here. So it's up to you to decide what that is, but remember to spare some time for that because you need to model it to a very detailed level. I need to see some hardware. I need to see how things connect. Real quick, let me just let's see if I can find a halfway decent image in 2 seconds. Okay, sure. This is a pretty decent one. So without the text, that would be appropriate, right? Showing, how these things, and of course mine was kind of exploded and pulled off. Yours doesn't have to be exploded and pulled off of each layer. You can show it assembled, but it does need to be a small cut section of a detail in your building. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, you don't need to show me all the little rails and stuff here or each and every little bolt, but I do need to see that the glass is being attached to a wall in some form or fashion. Okay? You won't know that this is going to have a specific profile, but you are going to have a void there. Right? You'll see a mullion as just a thing that's being cut. Let's see. Anyway, keep it a little bit simple, but it does need to have some level of detail about how these things are going together. And then finally, the last thing that you're going to need is in Illustrator, we're going to be developing our singular design concept, right? So that's our diagram. So I sort of just put up a whatever diagram up here. This is like mass nesting or something like that. I don't know. I just put it up there. I'm just making that up. But anyway, so that's my diagram. It fills up the page, right? These are all 8.5 by 11 sheets, and basically we're gonna set these as a set of drawings. So the first page is going to be your diagram. You're going to look at the axonometric assembly. You're going to look at the axonometric section to get a sense of the spaces, and then finally you're going to look at the exterior of the building. Or vice versa, you could go the other way too. But the diagram is always going to be first. What questions do you have?
It's too much work there.
It's not too much work. You've got a week and a half to do it. Yeah.
Make it 2 weeks.
I can't. Listen, the idea here, guys, is that you don't have enough time. So you need to choose what detail to model and where. Does that make sense? Okay. The hardest part, I think, the hardest two parts, I think, are going to be the axo section, deciding like how much, where was it? There. Like how much detail to show. So think of that now. Save your file, save a copy of your file, and start cutting it apart to look at what parts of it are interesting. And then model for that. For you guys, it doesn't really matter as much because you can see the whole building anyway. But like for Pat and Bador, right, you're going to have like a frosted facade, so you're not going to see much inside of it. And you may only want to model those couple of spaces that are going to happen behind the cut, which makes sense. Okay? Any other questions? All right. Hearing none, we shall adjourn.